So this is my friend Wendy, and Wendy edited my book, and we've come here to talk about Diary of a Mad Yogi and other things, perhaps, and any subjects relating to the themes of the book. So Wendy, can you just say a little bit about yourself and your background?
I'm a friend of yours, Simon.
Yes.
And I'm also a writer. I have a master's in creative writing, and I've had one book published, and I just kind of scribble a lot. And you asked me when this book evolved, when this book came to you,
Yeah.
if I might edit it for you. And at the time, if you remember, we did a bit of a deal. I would edit your book, and you would take me to magical places.
Okay, I
in
forgot
the
about
bush.
that part. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that you had discovered, and even though I'd lived here for many years, many of those places were completely new to me. So it was quid pro quo.
Well, I'm just picking up on the word magical because that's one of the themes of the book, and this is the magical story at the beginning of Diary of a Mad Yogi. Can you just? This was a gift on my 70th birthday from Wendy, and when I sat with this fluorite crystal and meditated, it told me to write the book. And I said, that's the last thing I really want to do. I've written books before from my ego in England, and I'd had one published, and I think my mother bought it. And that was and I used to walk past Dylan's and see it in the remainder bin, and so I said never again. But this said it'll be easy, and actually it was Thoth who came to me, Thoth, the master of communications, the Egyptian master of communications, and said, yes, you're going to write it, but you just sit there and write it, and it'll be easy. So it was no struggle involved. And a lot of it I didn't even understand, so I had to kind of research it afterwards. But this angel came to me and offered her skills, which are really quite powerful as an editor. And what did you feel about the book?
When you let it be known that you're a writer and that you are quite interested in editing, it's people will say, oh, you should read my book. And it's always a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
But I loved Diary of a Mad Yogi from the very beginning. It was, as I used to say, it's kind of Da Vinci Code meets The Alchemist.
That's pretty good.
Because it's got all that energy and fast-moving action of the code.
Yes, yeah.
But let's say no more about that book. And it has that wonderful deep wisdom of the alchemist that comes from all the wisdom traditions that have been woven through the Diary of a Mad Yogi story.
Right. Thank you for that. And it was actually the real genesis of this came from a yoga teacher who said to me, you should write a book, but not now, in a later point. And this book should be telling the story of yoga in fictional terms, because there are so many textbooks out there that I won't say they're boring, but they're just so many books, textbooks. But I don't know of many books that have been written, in a fictional form, telling the story of yoga and touching on the traditions, particularly the tantric traditions, and relating that in an actual physical experience, a written experience.
And it's not easy to do, because yoga is an esoteric science. It's a spiritual science, and that's not easy to throw words at.
Yeah.
And yet you've found a way to make a story that weaves. It's part fantasy, but it's also solidly grounded in the real world. It's a very cinematic sort of a book. You feel like you're there. You can see it. You can feel the you can feel the energies. You can see particularly some of those scenes that are sort of the wild spiritual energies are swirling, and there are people doing all sorts of different things. There are beings from other dimensions coming in. Now, this is not easy stuff to write, but you've done it in a way that makes it feel so real and makes you think, this is really possible. This is
Right.
This is more than possible.
Well, of course, I can't claim it as my own, really, because I just saw the images and wrote them down. It was like watching a movie and just running it. So I don't claim it as my book. It is...
I would.
Well, it's a legacy, if you like to look at it that way. And working with Sophie to do the audio book was quite a revelation. Just she sat and listened to me speak for 10 days, something I could never get her to do when she when she was 10 years old. So that's another part. So as to the themes of the book, it's really, it's about this time we're in, the time of ascension. And what surprised me was that I tapped into my past life experiences as well as my early life experience as an auctioneer and valuer and a diviner of objects when I was an antique dealer. So I brought that part in an idealized fashion. It was the idealized fashion of discovering hidden objects, which in Tibetan is called the turtan. So that was one theme, having my family and my extended Welsh family, which are connected to a lot of traditions of the Druids there, to bring that into the story. But I had no intention, it just happened.
And those pieces that are discovered need to be taken back to their spiritual homes.
Uh-huh.
And that gives the story this wonderful shape of not just are we engaging with very precious, spiritually infused and important physical objects, but then there's the journey. They're being taken back to where they belong and to the communities in which they really do need to be.
Yes.
And that sense of we are somehow returning the objects, we're returning to source, we're sort of on this journey to return to the centre. Yes. And that's a theme that comes through the book, returning to the centre, which is an allegory for us all, returning to the centre.
Absolutely, yes. So that was a big theme of my work that I've been carrying out here at Gamboya and on these walks, and to get people to relocate their locus of consciousness in the heart. So that is a major theme of the book, really, to the centre. And eventually they end up at the centre of the world. And there's a twist at the end.
Don't give it away.
No, it's very tempting. I must say,
spoiler alert.
I was very pleased with the ending. It's very surreal and it's very interdimensional, And so I really just let the whole thing fly. And normally you'd expect someone to create a structure, to divide it and to plan it, but it wasn't planned in any way. And so I did have the beginning, opening chapter in my mind for years. That was riding my motorbike through the twisty lanes of Devonshire and falling off it, which I had done. I hadn't died, but I'm here, So. But in the story,
so was Raph.
Raph, yeah, he didn't die. He came back from a near-death situation. So that was, to me, Hunter's Wood, the house where I lived my teenage years, was a central character in the story. And Devon as well, of course. And then we moved out to connect into the sacred sites around England, particularly, in the sort of Stonehenge region, where all those extraordinary sites, Glastonbury, Avebury, and then London itself with the... am I giving too much away?
No.
With the song lines or the ley lines of London and the secret temple underneath St. Paul's Cathedral. And so that then just, I don't know where that came from really, it just arrived. But I could see it as clear as I'm seeing you. It was so visually. And of course Saint Germain was another main character in the book, as well as Archangel Michael and Shiva. They were all major characters.
And because none of it was premeditated, perhaps that's why it feels so fresh. It sort of sounds so new and fresh, and the story seems so vital and alive because it wasn't premeditated. You didn't have whiteboards all over the place with structures and
No.
characters, and this character's going to have this kind of hair and this kind of personality.
Yeah.
None of that. It's just very, and it's effusive, and it's energetic, and
Yes. And it's also an idealized perspective of my life. How if I had planned my life perfectly, that's probably how it would have been. But I woke up at 21 and,
Yes.
had this experience, got into yoga early. So I'm eternally thankful when I meet people of Sophie's age, in their 20s, waking up, and have this whole experience in front of them, whereas for me it was coming to Australia when I was 48. I didn't include Australia in the book, but there is a character that comes in from Australia in the book.
Yeah, well, it is included, and
Yeah.
I won't mention the sacred object.
No,
That,
probably not.
because I don't want to give everything away.
No,
But there is that linked, and it did make me think, Simon, is there a sequel?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's already there, really. It's sort of there. Yeah. But however, I think it's just time to let this one go out there and see, where it goes. And
Maybe I need to go back to the crystal shop.
you dare. Thank you, Wendy. That was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, Simon.
So appreciated. All that you've contributed. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the great read.
Ah.